Hi there. Thanks so much for watching this week's video. Just a reminder, please subscribe to the Literacy Nest YouTube channel. I would so appreciate your support. All right, so this is a message perhaps for someone who might be in private intervention, but this is certainly applicable to anyone that may be using the Orton-Gillingham approach and looking to communicate to a new family. Why frequency matters. So, yes, the heart of this video is going to be about the reason why frequency matters. Okay, so first of all, whenever I have a new family, I really like to take the time to just be a really good listener. And the reason is because there's usually a lot of emotion tied in with whatever they are experiencing with their child's challenges with school. There may be a lot of frustration, just maybe some anger, some sadness, disappointment, the way things may be going so far with their child's school experience. So I always try to be just a really good listener. When I'm about to begin with a new family, or if it's just somebody who's interested in the Orton-Gillingham approach, I always give this little pamphlet. And this is something you can find free in my store. And it is What is the Orton-Gillingham approach? And what it does is just explain what the approach is, the principles of Orton-Gillingham, which with anyone trained in Orton-Gillingham will adhere to, and what you should look for in an Orton-Gillingham lesson. And then on the back is who benefits from the Orton-Gillingham approach and how can I find a trained professional. Okay, so that's a little freebie handout. You can double-side it, tri-fold it, pass them out. Okay. So that's the first thing that I do. I try to really listen. I ask a lot of questions and after to try and gather as much information as I can before I get into any kind of initial assessment with a child. But one of the big questions comes up is this, and that is frequency. So perhaps your new family might have been coming in from a situation where they met with just an academic tutor, maybe just once a week. And typically when you're working with an academic tutor, that might be the only time that you meet with them, just once a week. They might do homework help. They might help you with writing, math, whatever. There's a wide range that academic tutors can address. But when you're working with a specialized interventionist, working with someone who is really, really in need of intense intervention in their foundational skills of reading, there are other factors to take into account. And one of them is frequency. Now, when you're trained in Orton-Gillingham, you may have heard from your trainer that even at the supervised level of your training, you really cannot accept a student who is not able to commit to a minimum of 2 lessons per week and not 2 consecutive days. They should be spaced out. Typically Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, something like that. But not side by side like Monday, Tuesday. Okay, so we want to have at least a minimum of 2 days a week for effectiveness of Orton-Gillingham. And I just said a minimum. Now, I say this in my podcast a lot, Together in Literacy, if you haven't listened. Dyslexia rarely acts alone. There are typically other coexisting things going on that could affect the rate at which a child will make progress. Perhaps we have things like processing speed, working memory, ADHD, executive function. These are all things that kind of like surround the dyslexia that also have to be addressed. Oftentimes, we are dealing with children or people who have issues with working memory. And so that is when frequency is going to matter even more. So we want to explain to parents that we structure this for them so that the students really can get into a smooth and efficient routine. We don't want any kind of interruption to the flow. We want to get them in. We want to get them really comfortable, not only with you, but also with the routine. So any stops, starts, or just seeing once a week, we're going to sort of interrupt that flow. School vacations, summer vacations, things like that. Those all interrupt flow. But as we work with children, we are in perhaps like a Tuesday, Thursday type model. We're giving them lots of opportunities not only to introduce a new concept, but to offer appropriate repetitions and appropriate practice. Because these kids, as we know, need higher frequency of practice and repetition. And so I would also want to explain that to families. We want to keep a really nice and tight routine, that we want to structure their learning so it doesn't feel like there's a gap, that we're spacing out the learning so that when they return to you, maybe perhaps 2 days later, that it can feel like, okay, do you remember 2 days ago when we first introduced suffix ed? Okay, now we're going to continue with that same lesson. We're going to practice with some different activities. We're going to play a game, things like that. So we want to have them build up their confidence and their feeling of success within that lesson. If they're only coming once a week, then we really slow down that kind of progress. And some Orton-Gillingham educators will say, including myself, that they will not work with a student who cannot commit to at least 2 lessons or sessions per week. And that is because when we're adhering to our Orton-Gillingham principles and our training and what we know about good teaching for these students at the intervention level, it really, really matters. So, once again, grab this pamphlet if you need to help explain to parents if they're new to Orton-Gillingham. This is a great summary of it. But also check out the blog post that goes along with this video. And that is, the blog post is called Frequency of Orton-Gillingham Lessons, Why Students Need More Than One Lesson a Week. So I hope this has given you some food for thought as you communicate to families, but also if you happen to be a parent or a caregiver, I hope that this has helped to explain the reason why frequency matters. So I will see you next time, and don't forget, subscribe to the YouTube channel. See you then.